Hello and welcome. It's a Friday morning, live here from the very beautiful hills of Ibiakuran, and we're super excited to be here again for Rise and Shine, your early morning status. My name is Janice Cobham. Happy to have you join us.
Yeah, it's a very happy Friday morning, especially for Janice. My name is Iyaneke, and I'm glad you could join us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Uyai.
Yeah.
And then we have this touch of purple. What is it all about?
Because it's a purple weekend. It's going to be a purple weekend
Oh,
full of
wow.
colors.
Oh, great. I think I want to agree with that now. Full of colors. Okay, talking about being full of colors, of course, the stories we've been having in this particular country, Nigeria, has not been full of colors, but full of anxiety, full of the fact that people cannot sleep with their two eyes closed, and maybe a little bit full of colors, I would say, because freedom has come to some set of people. And we're talking about the terrorists who attacked the Abuja Kaduna train passengers on March 28, 2022. They have released another 7 hostages, including a family of 6 and an older woman. Now, Sheikh Gumi had reached out to the abductors through his media consultant, Malam Tuku Mamu, appealing to them to release the children from captivity. Obviously, according to Sheikh Gumi, he sent sermons and consistently pleaded with the terrorists to consider the release of the poor children and their innocent parents. Now, we also remember that after there was a time some weeks ago now that, a particular video trended on social media where these terrorists were busy flagging seriously the abductees. And I know that the video actually sparked a lot of emotions from Nigerians, and there was this outcry. What is the federal government actually doing about the situation? And I think from the story we heard so far, I think we have 31 people still under hostage by these terrorists. But it's something that we should heave a little bit of sigh of relief that, these families, they are releasing these people in batches. We do not quite know if there's any form of assistance from the federal government that we are not too sure of, because from the story so far, it says that Gumi was more like the intercessor in this particular situation now, sending summons and consistently, pleading to this terrorist to allow these people to be released. And from the story so far, we had that after that flogging incident, these families of 6, we have a majority of children, with them, they fell sick. And also the old woman too, her health, situation deteriorated to a point that, they just had to release her. But we are thankful that, yes, this is more like a video of the scene of the incident, taking it from how it all started to when these abductees were actually released. 7 of them were released yesterday. And we thank God that they are releasing them, but we also are appealing, that more action should be taken, and then the rest of the 31 older abductees be released as well.
Yeah, this footage of those that were released after the last video footage that they released, and of course, it feels like we are making progress. But what we can't tell, like it's a big question on the minds of everyone. These releases, are they based on something the federal government is doing, or is just some consent reaching out to the conscience of these people? But we are thankful to see that, of course, people are being connected back to their families, and we haven't suffered any loss per se, since they've been, held hostage. We've not heard of any of them who's been killed, and I believe that that's something to be thankful for. And we hope that in the next couple of weeks we can see and hear that everyone who's remaining captive, as a result of the Abuja Kaduna train abduction, have been released. But we do hope that the federal government will continue to try, because of course they say they are, having conversations and negotiations. So let's hope that in the next couple of weeks this will be a forgotten issue, and all the abductees will be released.
We're just hoping so. We're praying seriously that that happens. Like reports say, the identities of the family of six are the father, Abubakar Garba, his wife Mariam, and their 10-year-old son Ibrahim, Fatima, who is 7, Imran, 5, and Zainab, who is just 1.5 years old, and of course, a 60-year-old woman as well, Aisha Hassan, was one of those that were released. But I think the president has said something concerning this particular release. He obviously had some representatives of the adoptees, with him at the presidential villa. Now, the president said yesterday that he met with representatives of victims of Kaduna train abduction, and he's assuring that the federal government is doing everything within its powers to ensure the safe return of the remaining captives. Now, this sounds like, some political gimmicks there, because this is not the first time we are hearing the president say that we are trying all our means or all within our powers to make sure that the abductees are released. But again, there's something that he said that I think that I want to agree a little bit with what the president is saying, that, if they want to use all the military might in their disposition,
Yes.
and, release these captives, that there's going to be also a very colossal loss. And that is what he doesn't want, as a president. He's also mindful of the fact that he doesn't want any of the abductees losing their lives while they're trying to rescue them, because according to what they say, that they could actually use a little military might to, release these abductees from the captivity that they are in right now. But the president says, no, we don't have to use all of that. We need to find other means, of making sure that these people are released without any harm. And I don't know how long that will take to happen. But again, I think another thing that I want to really point out to is the fact that we've been hearing series of conversations about, abductions. And we've also been hearing series of conversations around what Sheikh Gumi is actually doing, acting as an intermediary between this terrorist and the federal government. I also remember that there was a time that, Nigerians actually said, look, Sheikh Gumi should be brought in for questioning. If he knows these people enough, then there should be something around him that Nigerians need to know. And I did not see that quite happen, or even hear that it happened, that Sheikh Gumi was brought in for questioning. But there's this, relationship and cordiality between Sheikh Gumi, who is a Muslim cleric, and the bandits. And then he acts like an intercessor between the bandits and the federal government. Because at some point, he was also of the opinion that, amnesty should be granted to these people. And then, money, some amount of money should be paid to those people. But I don't think that there is anywhere in the stories, when we follow the trends of the stories, that it has been said that, look, these bandits or these terrorists, there is something exactly that they are agitating for.
Of course, we never know what exactly they're agitating for, but to say that Sheikh Gumi needs to be brought in for questioning is an actual fact. And to also say that we haven't heard, what the federal government has done in that regard, well, it's the way the government is. But it takes me back to one reality that we have come to realize in the midst of all of these security conversations, is the fact that it is well known to all Nigerians that the federal government knows who is who in terms of sponsors, collaborators, what will you call them, allies,
and even the actors.
Yes, even the actors. In the crimes of insecurity, they actually know who is who. Like Getso would say, they know the hideout. So even if it's a question of whether or not Sheikh Gumi is actually an accomplice and a part of this, it will be well known to the government. It takes us back to the conversation of who is going to do the needful with all the information that they have with regards to the insecurity and all the experiences that we're having as a country. And then one will also will have to think at the point where these people are being released out of abductions, at the end, after they have had to go through a lot of health issues, you would just hope that they survive at the end, because releasing them after being held hostage in whatever condition that they've been held, which is not going to be the best, you know, we do hope that these people survive after it. There's a lot of psychological trauma. Now, we're talking about the fact that it's a family of 6 that have been released. It means an entire family has been traumatized in this whole period that they have been held hostage. Who amongst that family is going to help the next person? Is it the father who will help the mother will help the father, and the children? We're talking of a child who is 1.5 years old, having that kind of experience early on in her life. So there's a lot of mix, and we hope that, of course, at this point where they have been released, we know that the federal government is going to have a lot to say. You know, oh, they have been released, it means the federal government is doing, you know, something about it. Yes, we also hope that they step in to offer all the psychological assistance that these people will need. All the people that have been released so far, Nigerians will also need to keep up. Like, we need a feedback as to how they're doing, because I think one of my concerns is, after they have been released from this abduction, what's next for them as people? You know, it's a very important conversation I believe we need to have. The family of 6 needs to be paid particular close attention, so that we do not have you know, sad stories. But the thing is, with these kinds of issues, oftentimes it has a tendency to be politicized, and once they've been released, that's going to be the end. Everybody is just going to forget about
back
it.
to base.
Yes.
You know, nobody's saying anything anymore. But again, let's take it back to, you know, what happened in Owo recently, where the chief of defense staff, you know, Lucky Rabo, came out to say that they have arrested, you know, those behind that heinous crime that happened in Owo. And I think the line of conversation we had was the fact that we linked it up with what is happening in northern Nigeria.
Yes.
And we say that, you know, if the federal government can also, or the military can also swing into action, just the way they swung into action in Owo, in bringing down those perpetrators, you know, in the attack of St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo town in Ondo State, then they should be able to bring down those perpetrators and the terrorists that are unleashing mayhem on, you know, common Nigerians in northern Nigeria. Because whether we like it or not, I don't exactly know, but I just know that there's something that a lot of Nigerians do not know about when it comes to what is happening in northern Nigeria. There is something that the federal government is not telling us in clear terms what is happening. Is it that there's no how they can arrest these people, or there's no how they can put a stop to all that is happening? Yet we hear the government say that, okay, we are going to deal with them in the language that they understand. We are going to make sure that we wipe out terrorism before the end of this particular administration. And we are asking a simple question here. If you have spent 7.5 years, you know, and you've not been able to do jack in terms of insecurity, so what are you going to do in the next couple of months? I think it's barely 6 months now. What are you going to do? What kind of magic are you going to do? And then we have people coming up as a presidential aspirants, and then they're using this political you know, situation or insecurity situation in the country to play politics. Because we hear, oh, as I come, I think I heard Bola Ahmed Tinubu say that, you know, as I come, we are going to make sure that we wipe out insecurity. So it becomes like a political mantra or a political gimmick that, you know, these politicians are using to want to buy votes. So why is that the situation in the country? Why should we use something as serious as insecurity, which has killed a lot of lives? If you want to follow statistics, yes, if you want to follow statistics, you see the millions of people that have died following this kind of incident, and you're using it as a political tool to want to win elections. It's really pathetic, I must say.
Well, it's the kind of politics that we run as a nation, trying to find whatever we can use to play on the minds of Nigerians. The people in the political class all know that security is an important issue for every Nigerian. You know, people want to be able to go out and come back knowing that they're safe. So, of course, they try to use these conversations to tilt the minds of the people, but it goes beyond promising to work on insecurity when you come. At some point, we are going to need more deliberate strategies. You're going to deal with insecurity when you come. Agreed, but how do you intend to do that?
That is it.
So these are things that Nigerians need to look out for. It's no longer promise us as usual. It's the kind of politics that we have done. I mean, if you go to certain areas, they will tell you, oh, every time that the season of elections, people are going to come promise us everything, and after it's done and we canvass all of the votes for them in those seasons, we never hear of them anymore. So of course this is something that Nigerians need to become more deliberate about. It goes beyond who is promising us respite and security when they come into office. We need to see the blueprint of how you intend to do it. And then again, another conversation I would even like to ask, when you see the political stalwarts as such as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you're going to ask, if you knew these things and you are, in quotes, the godfather of the APC, which is the same administration that is about to wound up, why didn't you have a closed door conversation with the current president for us to, solve this issue? It's not a cap of glory for whoever ends in security. It's a matter for all Nigerians. So if you have been in the leadership of the APC thus far, and you had the knowledge, wherewithal to end the insecurity, why didn't you put that knowledge down as the stalwart in the APC to do it in the 7.5 years?
Or
That
more like you're hoarding the
you're holding it so
information
that the
so
glory
that the glory
comes to
comes to
you.
you. But I don't also think that, look, whoever is hoarding information has the capacity to even stop what's going on. Because whether we like it or not, what is happening in Northern Nigeria is more political than what meets the eyes.
Very agreed. Very agreed.
So it's not just some group of people coming out and saying that, oh, we want to cause problem, or we want to go into criminality. No, it's way beyond that. And Nigeria is also hoping that they come out and tell us in clear terms what the agitations are. When we take our minds back to what happened in the Niger Delta, and then we had militants, there was a clear cut agitation, and that was degradation of their lands in terms of oil spillage. Okay, so the federal government is coming to milk them dry and then leave their communities in a very deplorable state, because we heard that there was oil spillage taking over the farmlands and also killing the aquatic life. So these are some of the agitations that were put forward. And I think that is why we now have what we call the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. These are some of the agitations that were raised at the time, and that's culminated into what we have as the Petroleum Industry Act. But what exactly are the terrorists in northern Nigeria agitating for? That is the big question we want to know. That is what a lot of Nigerians want and need answers to, actually.
Yeah.
I think we just have to go away from that particular story now and then go all over to Sierra Leone. I've not heard, Sierra Leone has not been in the news for this kind of activity in recent times, but it just happened that, they are where they are today. And I also remember that if we follow the story, it began as a peaceful assembly of some market women to draw attention, to the economic hardship, descended into clashes between now security forces and young men demanding the president's resignation. Now, according to the World Bank, more than half of the population of about the 8 million people in West African country of Sierra Leone live under the poverty line. Long-standing frustrations with the government in some quarters has been increased by rising prices for basic goods in the West African country. Now, this also made anti-government protesters in Sierra Leone clash with police in the streets of the capital, Freetown, as tensions over the rising cost of living turned deadly. Demonstrators are demanding the departure of President Julius Maada Bio, who was elected into office in 2018 and still has 10 months left to the end of his term. They chanted "Bio must go" as they made their way through the capital, Freetown. Of course, we've seen videos showing of crowds of protesters and piles of burning tires in eastern Freetown. Now, this is quite pathetic. What's happening in Sierra Leone, there, Freetown precisely. It's something that would say that it's more like a global concern.
Yeah.
The whole world is going through some kind of economic crunch, and it is affecting some people more than it is affecting the others. But I think that in such situations, the government shouldn't be insensitive to the cries of common people, because whether we like it or not, there's a class. Life is in classes. We have the elite class, we have the the low class people, and I think that the low class people are the ones that suffer from any and every economic crunch to a very large extent. So I think that at some point government should come to that understanding that they need to make sure that people are carried along, citizens are carried along. Is either we begin to find means of how to ameliorate the sufferings of the common man. But again, what we see in Sierra Leone is actually something that's, you know, was more like a peaceful protest, a peaceful outcry by some group of people, just turned very deadly. Reports have said it that you know, a couple of people have actually lost their lives, from police to the common man, have actually lost their life in that particular protest. And I think that some international organizations have frowned really hard at what happened, you know, in Sierra Leone, and they're more like, look, dialogue would have been the way out of this particular situation.
Yeah, so Africa is actually on, you know, a lot of turmoil when it comes to inflation and the economy, but it seems to be something that is widespread. But like you rightly said, it's more severe in some African countries than it is in other African countries. Hence, the kinds of protests that we are having. Because even when you come back home to Nigeria, these are the same cases we are having. We are experiencing a hike in everything, but it probably hasn't reached the point where Nigerians say they want to protest. And for Nigeria, it hasn't become a case where you want the leadership of the country to leave the seat of leadership because of these things. But I think this is about the second or third African country that is having a protest and asking, you know, its leadership to quit office because of the high cost of, you know, living. We saw it in Ghana, and some other. There is this other African nation where the palace of the king was even invaded.
Sri Lanka
that's
now.
Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So it's taking over the conversation in a lot of places. And one would just wonder how difficult it actually is for the people to demand the government to go. And when you see peaceful protests turn into other things, it's a sorry situation, because you begin to have a death toll that people are counting. We've lost this number of people because, you know, we just wanted to have a peaceful protest. But then, just as a thought, I'm worried. If we have these conversations, if we sit and do these analysis across board, across all African countries, and we see that this price hike in things and the standard of living is not peculiar to our country, I think even the citizens could sit back and try to look for other ways, maybe through negotiations, of which I know that that's, you know, something we attempt to do through protest, but try to look for other ways we can stabilize our economy and move forward at that point as a nation, because it's not necessarily something that is peculiar to just your nation. If you count across most African nations, even Nigeria, who's the giant of Africa, they're facing the same thing. It means that collectively, as a continent, we need to look for a solution for the current issue that we are facing. It's not necessarily things that we need to do and then lose lives in the process, because it's not peculiar to your nation. So I believe that at the pace we are going, the African leaders need to come together to have a forward-thinking conversation as to how to help their nations to, you know, go through this season. It's more like a pandemic of some, what would I call it now? An economic pandemic of some sort. It's not peculiar to one nation. So if all the African leaders will come together and think, what's the best ways we can ameliorate these things so that we do not have this kind of tensions in our country, that would be a great thing to do. I know 2 or 3 weeks back we had some funds to about the tune of 200 billion or 200 billion or thereabout, that was going to be shared across different African you know, nations to help boost the economy. Now these are things that even the governments of these African nations can bring forward as conversations to its citizens. We are getting this amount of fund and aid from this country, and we are going to try to invest in these issues and these issues. Sometimes I think it's just a lack of proper communication and strategic communication to the people that we are leading and the people that are leading us.
I also want to say something. You know, it's okay to say that, you look, you know, government should, how did you put it now? you know, have conversations with their citizens, but and not necessarily, you know, going to protest. Because truth of the matter is, no matter how peaceful a protest begins, we might just end up having loss of lives. That's just the truth. Because some miscreants could, you know,
Always
turn it
overtake.
into a violent protest. But again, it depends on how much this economic crunch is biting hard on the people of a particular country. Now, if we take our minds back to the NSAS protest, it was almost getting to this, you know, to this situation. Not even almost getting to this situation. It got to this situation because we had series of destructions across board now when it comes to, you know, the country. But again, Uyai, let me say something. I think one other thing that is very peculiar with African countries is the rate of corruption. Now, the government will not tell us that they do not have the money to ameliorate the sufferings of the common citizens in their country. No. Now, it's also very painful. I quite agree with you, you know, your line of opinion, but it's also very painful when you sit down and hear a government official embezzling 102 billion naira. Now, this 102 billion naira that was embezzled here in Nigeria could solve a problem like ASU, the prolonged ASU strike. It could solve a problem like even building a school in Ondo State where students are sitting on the floor to write their examinations.
Investing in refineries so that we refine our own crude.
Of course, yes.
And take
it could
up
also
all the billions they're
build
investing in
modular
subsidy.
refineries while we are waiting for the big refineries to be built or to be revamped. So when we look at things like this, let us also put our legs or our foot in the shoes of the common man. We know how this thing pinches, and we know that there's a point where, you know, citizens could get it up to their neck, and it becomes a boiling point for them.
When you even talk about citizens getting it up to their neck, I think another thing we should consider at this point is that we are living on the verge of a revolution in Africa, because this seems to be like the tempo that the NSAS protest took on. So a lot of African nations have been in a tight corner for a very, very long time, and they're beginning to cry out in the most possible ways that they can. So very soon we're beginning to see that Africa will take on the tone it needs to take on as a continent. But at this point, we're going to take a break in our conversations and head on to the news brief desk, where we hear other things happening around the world. Do stay with us.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in the Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and and promising heaven and earth. You find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promise.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All election is about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by our governors, have to.
Good morning. This is your morning news brief on Spectrum, live from Uyo. I am Mary Joseph. We begin with the federal government's decision not to interfere with any local or international legal battle involving a former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, who is currently facing trial for alleged organ harvest in the United Kingdom. Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, told this to journalists at the 46th session of the State House briefing organized by the Presidential Communications Team at Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. Away from that, government has announced that the International Standard Organization certification will save 3.5 trillion naira post-harvest losses annually in the agricultural sector. Receiving the certificate at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja, the Minister of State, Mustafa Shehuri, said the post-harvest losses had posed a threat to food security in Nigeria. In education, President of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Emmanuel Osodeke, has reiterated that the current strike by the lecturers will linger till federal government is ready to accede to its terms. Speaking during ASU's Congress in Osun State, Osodeke noted that university students were making sacrifices for the coming generations to have basic amenities in school and access quality education. On security, Nigerian Army has trained 106 cadet officers of the 69 regular corps of the Nigerian Defense Academy on mechanized operations in Bauchi State. During the closing ceremony of the training at Victor Kure Armored Range, the Commandant, Nigerian Defense Academy, Major General Ibrahim Yusuf, said it was to tackle insecurity challenges facing the country. Let's move now to the foreign scene, where U.S. Justice Department is asking a Florida court to unseal the warrants that left FBI agents search former search former President Donald Trump's home so that the documents would be made public. Attorney General Merrick Garland also revealed that he personally approved the warrant, which was recently executed at Trump's Mar-a-Lago property. Beg your pardon. And finally, in sports, ace Falcons defender Gloria Ogbonna has signed a one-year contract with Turkish Women's League champions Alspor Kulübü. The former Edo Queens player said the contract would see her play the women's version of the Champions League with the club this season. We'll have details of these stories and more in our news at 12. My name is Mary Joseph. Let's head now back to Rise and Shine, where we have Janice and Uyai on standby. Have a wonderful morning.
Government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigerian for Spectrum TV to improve on the life
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police power with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
The people of Ikotokobo are mostly farmers. They major in the farming of crops such as okra, pepper, palm oil processing, as well as fishing. The road, according to the indigents, has remained inaccessible for years. Reports say that the road was later awarded to Hense Construction in 2019. The indigents stress that the condition of the road has made the movement of farm produce to the markets very challenging. They also complain that their products are wasted during rainy seasons because they do not have access to channel them to the market.
So mbok imisunu yo igbe governor nyin ibo mbok ya mo isunu nwa mi no nyin kusanga do mfra nyin eti usanga na mkpo uru anyin amadi ku iyak inesu to iyak afogbe yem aru kete berevrero inini uru asinyam because of usang
akpan kpor usang mi usanga mi aba freke sem kpon nyina tak usang iba iko fong iba zaki kami kayam kpomi yentak mban bat to nwang mbaro ma ko won te ko usanga ba kusang nyini ni egemi a link usanga sanga ke kai pe koronkun ake link igwere junction ikpe aruchoko road nyini mini junction do but tongro ndin di voice di banja mban bat asina fong iba machine wata enango kwa ki wata awakokot mbok ya government it is upon nyin enam bomi nonyin.
They, however, called on the state government to revisit the area and help them have access to good roads.
Many thanks for joining us. It's still Rise and Shine, your early morning starters. And we just came back from that particular break where we had to bring you the news brief with Mary Joseph, telling you about some of the things happening in Nigeria and in the world at large as well. Back here on Rise and Shine, I think we just wrapped up the conversation on Sierra Leone and the protests that happened. So if you're just joining us, those were some of the conversations that we had, the protests in Sierra Leone, and the fact that the terrorists of the Kaduna-Abuja bound train had also released 7 more of the abductees, a family of 6 and an aged woman of about 60 years. So if you're just joining us, of course, you can join the conversation on all our socials. Join us on Facebook and on YouTube, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtv.ng. I also remember that, you know, the government of Sierra Leone has put a curfew, dusk to dawn curfew in Sierra Leone, just to manage whatever is happening there and the protests as well. We hope that better days come for those in Sierra Leone, the West African country. Now, and away from that now, you can also, of course, you can also be a part of the conversation. Call us up. The numbers will be on your screen, so you can be a part of the conversation. You have any opinion or any idea you want to share with us as it concerns the conversations we are having, do well to call us. I think that Wike has been in the news for as long as possible, if I must put it that way, for so many reasons, actually. And of course, we saw that for the past couple of months now, there's been this romance with some APC stalwarts. Now we know that Wike is of the opposition party, and that is the People's Democratic Party. And after the presidential primaries that happened and did not see him winning the presidential tickets, there's been a lot of issues. There's been a lot of squabbles. And there's been a lot of talks on trying to also bring about peace, and him coming out to say that nobody has reached out to him. More like the way they're treating him is not also right. They are being insensitive to his plight. And ordinarily, if you're in a race for something, a competition or something, and someone comes first, and then another person comes second, it's maybe logic, common logic, you know, that the person that comes second gets to deputize you, or you know, in any function or any functionality. But that's not the case in this particular PDP presidential primaries, as the flag bearer of the People Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, decided not to choose Wike as his running mate. Rather, he decided to choose the governor of Delta State, now Ifeanyi Okowa, as his running mate for the presidential elections. And of course, we know that that has sparked a lot of controversies, even within the PDP party itself. And, you know, some people just think that, okay, so this is going to cause a rift to the point that the PDP family will be broken. And then I also know that some people have also said that, you know, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is not being fair, and even the PDP party is not being fair to Governor Wike of Rivers State, being that at some point when everybody left the party, Wike was there like the backbone of the party, you know, holding the party together. And I think it's also based on that notion that Wike just thought that, okay, fine, since I've been the one holding the party together, I should be able to get, you know, the presidential ticket, even though it was just a tightly contested, you know, primaries. We saw how many, you know, votes in between happened for Atiku to pick that ticket. But I think should we say that it's being likened to what Tinubu is doing on the part of APC, the Emilokon, you know, Emilokon slogan, it's my turn.
So that will now be Wike's attitude in the People's Democratic Party.
He's just feeling that, okay, since I've been the one holding the party together, some sense of entitlement. Yes. Anyways, I think first of all, let's take a particular video. Wike is a very controversial person anyways, but we'll take a particular video where he was dancing during the recent commissioning that happened in Rivers State.
thing we want to expand upon later on this morning.
Yeah, definitely. And then we also saw a particular, comment where he made during that commissioning, that his loss to in the presidential primaries was due to ethnicity and religion as well. I know that a particular ex-governor of Zamfara State, Aliyu Wamako, also was in that particular commissioning, and then he actually countered, the conversation and said that, look, he doesn't think that it is a thing of religion or ethnicity at play, but that it was more of a betrayal from the path of Wike's friend himself, who decided to step down and hand over all his structures and votes to Atiku Abubakar. So we'll take that video right now, and then we'll come back to this conversation.
They all saw it. We have won the election, if not because of religious and ethnicity. No problem. So far is
So, my brother, I beg to agree with you that you did not lose the election last convention in PDP because of religion. Because Muslims voted for Obasanjo twice as a president in this country. Muslims voted for Johnson 2 times, for South as Christian twice for this country. So I'm sorry, sir. I want to disagree with you on matter of religion here. Take note, please. Only that maybe his friend betrayed him to lose the election during the convention last, but otherwise he would have been the PDP candidate by now. But I feel still young man, I think there's still more time for you. That's right. Just keep planning and working for it. God knows best. But I feel still young man, I think there's still more time for you. That's right. Just keep planning and working for it. God knows best. Muslims voted for Obasanjo twice as a president in this country. Muslims voted for Johnson 2 times, for South as Christian twice for this country. So I'm sorry, sir. I want to disagree with you on matter of religion here. Take note, please. Only that maybe his friend betrayed him to lose the election during the convention last, but otherwise he would have been the PDP candidate by now. But I feel still young man, I think there's still more time for you. That's right. Just keep planning and working for it. God knows best.
So that's the video there of Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, actually saying that, that why he lost in the PDP presidential primaries now was due to religion and ethnicity. And I think that this squabbles just continues to go on and on and on. We are also looking forward to a time where they would say that, they have resolved whatever it is that PDP is having in terms of the presidential primaries that happened some months ago. But again, let's look at this. Now, a day after the former vice president and presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and embittered governor of Rivers State, Mr. Nyesom Wike, met in Abuja in a move aimed at resolving the differences in the main opposition party ahead of the 2023 general elections. Wike has ordered removal of all PDP flags in the government house. Yeah, is this because I think that one of the issues that all of this is generating, or one of the suspicion that all of this is generating, is that maybe Wike, governor of Rivers State, is on the verge of leaving the People's Democratic Party. And would we say that it's a wise thing for him to do at this point in his political career? And don't we also think that he is taking things too far, in terms of all that is happening, within the PDP party?
When you say a wise thing to do, are you asking about him moving from the People's Democratic
from the People's Democratic Party to any other party?
To any other party. Well, it's a political thing. And like we've seen in the political architecture of Nigeria, it's something they can always do. Move from one party to the other. Eventually, if the crop of people that are currently in PDP, face out, he can decide to go back there to become, like the stalwart in the party. But
I think what will not sit well is in terms of taking out the People's Democratic Party's flag in the government house of Rivers State. That seat was won on the premise of the People's Democratic Party. So whether or not he has grievances with the party or not, going to that extent is a little too much. Allow the party, the party's glory, it's like we are saying, it's in a couple of months, 6 months or thereabouts, or even less, and you're going to be winding that up. These other things just feel like a little too much drama on the part of Governor Nyesom Wike with regards to pulling down the flag and other thing. But if it's about
but if he's pulling down the flag, it's an indication that he's going to hoist another flag.
But he cannot hoist another flag in that place.
No, he can.
Being on seat.
He can.
That he won from another party.
Of course he can.
Okay,
he can. Look at the
governor
of Cross River State.
This is the same controversy that took Governor Umahi to
out?
To court.
Is he out? He's still the governor of Ebonyi State. Just like governor of Cross River State is still the governor of Cross River State.
And flagging is on
both
the
of them were taken. Yes. So it's just a matter of he's the one in authority. He's still the governor. So he decides whether to pull down the flag because he is wanting to join another party. So if he pulls down the PDP flag, that means Nigerians are waiting for him to hoist another flag.
To make the announcement of where he has decided to hoist, pitch his tent. Those are really bold statements. But at this point, I think one of the questions we should deal with this morning is, if Wike does actually move to another party, is it PDP's loss?
Big question.
Yes, will PDP really be losing anything if Wike moves and decides to pitch his tent in another place? Because that is the only that's the answer we need to explain what this whole thing is about. If his movement from one party to the other does not have any significant effect on the party he's moving out from, then he might as well move. But if everybody is having a cat and mouse race about Wike, PDP is trying to have reconciliatory meetings, other parties are trying to have poaching, meetings with him, it therefore means that there is something about that particular, I don't know what to call it now, but
I wanted to come on you on that particular comment that you just made. If we really want to answer that question, you will know that Wike is not just a mere man, when it comes to politics in Nigeria. He's more like the Tinubu of the western part of Nigeria right now. He's more like that, that figure, in the political climate of Nigeria. So if for example you're saying that if he's leaving the PDP will have any significant effect,
will it be PDP's loss?
I wouldn't say yes and I wouldn't say no to that question. But again, if you look at all that is playing out right now, you know that Wike is very relevant. Now let me ask, what if he's not relevant, in terms of the political climate in Nigeria? Why the romance between the APC? We've known how many, in the couple of months that have passed, we know how many APC top governors have been visiting Port Harcourt in recent times.
I don't even think it's a question of relevance, because at the end of the day, if you're a person at that kind of, place in life and you're not relevant, you're not even supposed to be there in the first place. So it's not even a question of his relevance.
You can be a governor, and not have that relevance.
Well, for me personally, I don't think it's a question of his relevance. My question is, what will PDP be losing if Wike decided to pitch his tent in another place?
They'll be losing a lot of structures. They'll be losing a lot of followers.
When we now say structure, we now bring that conversation to the fact that structure is about human beings.
Yes.
So we are now saying that the whole structure of the People's Democratic Party, half of that structure is Governor Nyesom Wike.
No, the point is, when you have a governor that is more like people-oriented, there's that tendency that the governor will amass for himself a lot of followers. And these followers are the foot soldiers that go into the interiors and the communities to make sure that elections are being won. And these are the structures that we're talking about. So if you say that PDP or Wike moving and leaving PDP, do you know how many people? Now, let's not also
and
forget.
imagine where he's moving. You can now imagine whichever party.
We don't even know whichever party, because he has not even made any statement to that effect that he is moving. And some people have also argued that till tomorrow, Wike will not leave PDP. Okay, but we also do not know which way he's going to toe. But what I was trying to say is, don't also forget that Wike is not just a governor, or more like a relevant person in Rivers State. His relevance cuts across all boards. His relevance, you know. So you can imagine if maybe he has a grip of some amount of states in Nigeria, and then he's leaving PDP to another party.
He takes all that force.
He's taking all that force with him to whichever party he chooses to go to, and of course to whichever candidate he's also going to be choosing to support at the end of the day. So I think that's just it. He has some relevance, if you ask me.
I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with Governor Nyesom Wike's relevance. He's very relevant. I'm sure that's why we are having the dance. But at the end of the day, I think another perspective to my question would be that if the People's Democratic Party think that he is of that much value to them, then they should really reconsider their negotiations. They should really consider the steps that they are taking to this reconciliation.
I think that in talking about the reconciliation now, I remember that I read something about that reconciliation process and the fact that Wike has, you know, put his cards on the table and say, look, these are my conditions, you know. And of course, so
it's bare before them.
Yeah, it is bare before them, but the flag bearer says those conditions as being too much for him to be able to handle. And I think anyway, when our guest comes, we'll look elaborately at that story.
I know that Atiku Abubakar had actually said that there is no point where anyone can force him to work with the person he doesn't want to work with.
That's true.
So that's another consideration that you know, we have to look at. I think something that is very important in the conversation we had this morning is the fact that this seems to be that feel of the Emilio Kong, you know, feeling from Wike.
Yes, I've done
I've done so much at this point, so I need to be given this as a reward. And I don't think that as a nation that is a place we want to be for anyone, whether it's a Tinubu or it's a Wike, because when you eventually start endorsing these kinds of behaviors, there's going to be more Tinubus, there's going to be more Wikes that do things and believe that their reward is the rulership of Nigeria. And this is a state. It's not the property of any single individual. So if we keep endorsing these kinds of attitude, and in the end we say, okay, let the People's Democratic Party bend and dance to his tune and give it to him because of the things he has done, we are writing a handwriting on the wall that might come back to bite at us as Nigerians eventually. So these are things that, you know, although we are hoping that PDP can reconcile their crisis amicably, we hope that we do not trade our nation, you know, in the process with all of these sentiments, I'll call them, you know, from all of these political leaders. Because if it's done for a Wike today and done for a Tinubu today, it will be done for another person who says, I've made so much investment in Nigeria, I've made so much investment in the parties, and the reward I deserve is the leadership of a country, whether or not the people think that you're worthy of sitting in that seat.
I think another thing, I quite agree from the line you're coming from. Let us begin to see leaders that want to rule us because they have something that they want to give to the people. They have value they want to add to the lives of the common man. I will continue to talk about the common man because we know how those things pinch. We know how those things bite. Let us begin to see leaders that would say, look, I am coming to serve. I am a servant leader. Okay, I am a servant leader. I want to serve the people, and not necessarily because I have worked so hard for this particular party, or I have worked so hard, I have done this for the country, I have done that. So
I've raised other leaders, raised other presidents, even your president,
a kingmaker that wants to become a king, you know, and you know that you're somewhat incapacitated. You can't do, you know, be active anymore like you would have been, or you should be, you know, leading a country like Nigeria. We have always said that to rule Nigeria, you have to have the wits. You have to have that rascality. I think that was one of the issues that was put forward, that Osibajo is too gentle a man, to be able to lead this country. That we need somebody that has a little bit of rascality. He might be a firm person
mentally.
Of course, yes. We've listened to him
talk
before.
So if we're talking of someone who can be firm with decisions and policies.
Yeah, that's the rascality we're talking about.
Of course, but Osibajo was that kind of person. A sprinkle of it. Osibajo definitely did have it, because we saw him in some interim moments in the government in this past 7.5 years make strategic changes that would have affected Nigeria differently.
Definitely.
So he had it, but I mean, we are here, we are where we are. We're having this conversation.
Well, another thing that I would also like to say, that sometimes when you're acting a little bit away from, the corridors of power, okay, a little bit, I don't know how to put it now, but a little bit away from, the helm of affairs, there are certain things you can do. But when the cap sits on your head as the one in charge, there's just some kind of compromise that might just happen. So you begin to see this person that was before now, acting in a particular kind of way, begin to act in a different kind of way, and you're like, oh, why is this person acting like this? I actually thought that, this person did great when this person was maybe a senator, or maybe when this person was a governor. Why is this person acting this way when this person has become the president? We were expecting more, coming from him or coming from her. So we see those things happen a lot of times, that there is always that little bit of compromise in certain issues at certain times, depending also
those are just like speculations and like projections, so we never can really tell whether at the point where Osibajo might have clinched that ticket.
No, I would have loved to mention a
someone
name
that changed in the face of a new
there was a particular
reality.
person that was a senator at some point, and he did so great, okay, and then he came as would I say a messiah now at a point in time, and people were like, oh, this is the kind of governor we need, this is the kind of governor. He did so well when he was in the Senate, and we know what is happening today. We know, we are seeing it.
Well, those are really serious issues, but at this point,
so we'll go back. I think, let me just add this before we take a breather now.
Okay.
At this point, we go back to the book of George Orwell, Animal Farm, where it says that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. So, anyways, let's just take a breather now, and I'm sure when we are coming back, we'll definitely come back with our guest on the show. Stay with us.
Bible Church Secondary Commercial School, a community secondary school in Mia community, is one of the long-standing schools in Pateni local government area. Founded in 1972, the institution has churned out successful Nigerians across the South-South region and beyond. Reports say that the institution was one of the best rated in the past, but for decades now, the glory of the school has been buried in the deplorable condition where it is today.
Things are not very fine in this school. I'm struggling left and right tooth and nail to make sure I correct one thing or the other. We are bothering how to repair the principal quarters under renovation at hand. We've been abandoned. Everything here, nothing. Mostly, especially this structure that you see that upstairs there, was built by the community via Wike Church in 1973. As sovereign in this school, only 7 teachers in question. Other subjects are sovereign. The core subjects are sovereign, no teachers here. My humble appeal is now that government should be able to look into all this public school, most of this Mia own.
The indigents say that the state government was aware of the plight of the school and had promised to reposition the citadel of learning.
Government personalities over time is visit, take photographs. The government of Udom Emmanuel is excellency. I get it take up. The commission computer lab here, 50 computers, sets more. You have up to 800 students in this school at all. You have about 7 teachers, 2 PTA staff. So being your government, no teachers you from where me. Teaching and non-teaching staff from where me do something to reckon with.
Another is the QIC Group School, a government-owned primary school still in Mia community, which also draws attendance from pupils across the 6 villages under Mia community.
This school is fed by about 4 villages. Ikora Devia Mia, Ikora Bel Mia, Ikora Bazim Mia, and Ikora Kaide Mia. Even most of the children have been coming from Ikora Bagop. I am appealing to the state government to look into the problems of this primary school, especially refurbishing the buildings and maintaining the school to a better standard, because the children are many. And teachers should be sent down to this school to take care of the children.
As the people remind government on the urgency for the rehabilitation of the schools, they also plead for more teachers to be sent to the schools to meet the learning demands with the growing population.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killing cities.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding you, not shaking.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, many thanks for still being there. It's still Rise and Shine, your early morning starters. And we've been having an array of conversations and, of course, looking at some of the political issues we've been having in the country, and especially what is happening in the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, recently. And, of course, the squabbles between the presidential aspirant of the PDP, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and the governor of Rivers State, Governor Wike. And, of course, I will also be touching on the Labour Party, talking about Peter Obi and the 15 political parties that's actually collapsed structures, in support of Peter Obi. And we look at, between what is happening in the different political parties, APC, PDP, what's hope for the Labour Party. Joining us this morning to discuss this areas of issue is a journalist and public affairs analyst, Rashid Olariwaju. Thank you so much for being a part of our show this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. It's my pleasure being here.
Yeah, we are super glad to have you here on set. He's been with us, I think, once or twice virtually, so it's glad to have him here. And we really want to take out the time to trash a lot of issues, here this morning. So I think we'll just, get right into it. Wike, let's go with Governor. Yes, on Wike. The conversation on the front burner that we should start with is his recent statement, where he said he believes he lost to the presidential ticket as a result of religious and ethnic reasons. That's a comment he made during the commissioning of some projects in River State. What are your thoughts about that comment?
Well, I think, except the main opposition party as we have it today, the People's Democratic Party, puts its house in order, there may likely to be problem in that party. And when I say except, that should come very, very quickly. Remember, Wike has told Nigerians that in the days ahead, weeks ahead, you are going to hear from me. And I'm not sure he has even, poured out exactly what he wants Nigerians to hear. So, except they quickly intervene and intervene very, very smartly, PDP might be in for trouble. My understanding of what Governor of Rivers State said about religious and ethnic reasons for losing the elections might just be one or two of the reasons, or many reasons, it may have. In my view, and I've sampled other people's opinion based on that, I think it was classically dividing Nigeria into two in a way, that south and north. Whereas in the north, his closest friend, as it were, then Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Waziri Tambuwa, stepped down for a northern person, in the name of coming together. It is expected, in my view, and I think Wike is towing that line too, that, okay, others who are not as popular as him from the southern part here should have done the same thing for him. So, but for Tambuwa, with his larger foot from the northwestern axis of the country, perhaps Wike would have picked that ticket. So I'm sure that is why he's saying, you know, ethnic and religious. Don't forget that mainly northern states is more of Muslims, while southern states here, we have many Christians in southern states. So that may be what he was talking about. But like I said, except the PDP put its house in order, Wike is ready to speak. He's ready to talk. He's already a talking governor even before now. But now he's aggrieved, and many more things will be coming. Both the one you know and the one you did not know at the time. People will now be feeding him from the inside, feeding him more information, and as they are feeding him, he's getting more aggrieved, and he'll be ready to pour out. And the more he's pouring out, the more problem he's causing to the party. So I think they need to, you know, everybody has his own ways of doing things, but there's a level you reach and you put some interest, you know, in place and ensure that there's cohesion in the party.
Okay, let me just lean on this question that I just threw forward now and ask this question. Do you also think that this is an issue of betrayal? Because I remember also that in commissioning that project, it wasn't just the likes of Governor of Lagos State that was there. We had different governors, you know, come through for that commissioning in Rivers State. We had the likes of the former governor of Zamfara State, Aliyu, what's his name now? Sokoto State, okay.
Wamako.
So Wamako, yes, we had the likes of Aliyu Wamako. And I remember also we just saw that video where Wamako said, look, it is not an issue of ethnicity or religion at play here. It is rather a betrayal from your friend, Tambuwa.
Well, you know, bringing Wamako in here, it's a bit deeper again. Before now, I mean, the whole world and Nigerians in particular has already known Governor Wike for bringing people from outside, you know, rivers to come and commission, I mean, many projects as it were. But he hardly picked opposition party. I mean, if I should remember very well, I think the only opposition party he brought, and that has a title, was Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State. But he is the chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum. So on that title, I'm sure that was why he brought him, forgetting that they might be friends or they might not be friends. So, but back to back now, within this period, bringing in first Governor Ambode of Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, you know, then going to Sokoto State and bringing a political foe of a sitting governor, his friend, Alhaji Wamako. I mean, it's a direct spy, and to just show to the PDP, and in particular, Aminu Waziri Tambuwa, that is no longer with him. That is my own interpretation. I mean, it depends on where you are looking at it from. But if you know the politics of Sokoto State very well, you will know that both Tambuwa and Wamako were in the same political fold before. First in PDP together. Later, they all moved to APC. And it was that on that pedestrian of APC together that Wamako handed over to Tambuwa in 2015. Now, they had issues, internal issues, and you know, expected of, you know, immediate past and sitting governor. I mean, we all know that before in Nigerian history. When Tambuwa wanted to move back to PDP, I understand that Wamako asked him not to go because this was their accord. But because of their political interest, he left. And he left with a lot of issues with a sitting governor. Now, if you follow the 2019 election very well, you know that Tambuwa lost that election narrowly. In fact, there was a rerun. There was some supplementary elections. He lost that. I mean, he won that election narrowly with I think about 300 and something votes or so. So that tells you how powerful Wamako is in Sokoto politics. And now Wamako is on this side, Tambuwa is on the other side. Tambuwa used to be Wike's friend. Now Wike went to bring Wamako, who is a political foe of Tambuwa in Sokoto State and of course in Nigerian politics, to come and commission a project. So he was just telling Wike that, hey, don't even go into the politics of ethnic or religious biases or betrayals. This was a clear betrayal from your friend who you put all your heads for in 2019, ensuring that he became the second runner-up in that election. Somebody you wanted to make a president in 2019, who should have, stand in for you in and out, but openly and clearly declare his allegiance and support to another candidate. So he actually betrayed the friendship. I think that was the story and the statement Wamako was trying to make. So anyhow you look at it, Wike is up to something.
Yes, that's the something a lot of Nigerians are waiting to see, because with the advent of things right now, we have seen that even 2 days ago, there was an invitation, to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, to come commission the legislative building in Rivers State. Now, Gbajabiamila, as we know, is also of the ruling party, which is of the APC, and Wike is of the PDP. And we've had series of governors come on board, to come, and like you said, before now, Wike does not call the opposition party to come commission anything. So what's this romance all about? We want to know what is the handwriting on the wall. What is Wike trying to tell us? We have also seen research or reports that, the PDP flag in the government house has been,
River State Government House, he asked it to be removed.
Has been removed. So what is Wike telling us?
That pulling down of the PDP flag remains a rumor. We all know that except it is officially announced or put across to the media or to the public, we can only speculate. Yes, one or two people have confirmed to me in Rivers, in Port Harcourt in particular, that happened. But it remains a rumor until the government officially come out to say this is the position. And of course, if he's doing that, he should be able to tell his people and especially the followers of PDP why he does that.
Yeah.
But let's leave that aside. It's part of politics. I mean, he's trying to tell them that in my state I'm in charge, I'm in control. We have a lot of rumors going on in the state. I mean, we have a lot of rumors that the leadership of the party has been shifted, off him and given to his political foe again in PDP, who is a sitting House of Reps member. That again remains a rumor. No official information either from PDP or even from Rivers government house to that effect. But in politics, there are a lot of undercurrent things happens, and people who knows how to play this game can go to any length in making a statement. It is that statement, in my view, that Governor Wike is trying to make. A lot of people are saying, I've seen reports that are saying, hey, Wike going. APC ready to APC ready to receive Wike and all that and all
yes,
that.
speculations.
But knowing Governor Wike, the way I know him, is somebody I know personally. I mean, when he was Minister of State for Education, that was where I started, following Governor Wike, political antecedents. I think he's very smart. I remember because I interviewed him when he was Minister of State for him. In fact, he was a substantive minister because when the main minister left to contest an election, he became a substantive minister of education. I think he was a minister then. And I asked him, we have it on record that you are going to be the next governor. He said, wait, I'm minister now. Let me finish. I'm delivering, for my principal, Goodluck Jonathan at the time. When we get there, then I will talk to you. Just wait. Now, the message or the information I'm trying to bring out here is that, you know, the way he spoke, you could see that confidence in a man who has already knew at the time that he was going to be the next governor of Rivers State, regardless of the fisticuff and the, you know, the disagreement between him and Rotimi Amici at the time. So that confidence in Governor Yesom Esenwo Wike, you cannot take it out. You can't take it out. And it is that confidence that, you know, the big whips in PDP are scared of now, because they know what he can do. And knowing how smart Governor Wike is, I don't see a Wike who is going to leave PDP.
That's another conversation.
I don't think a Wike who is going to leave a PDP. Rather, I see a Wike who is going to teach PDP a lesson if they don't quickly solve the matter at hand. How will they do that? Of course, so we know it happens. Person election just concluded. We know what happened between Aregbesola and the sitting governor Oyetola. And we knew how Aregbesola supporter, extremely popular. Aregbesola is very, very popular. In fact, his popularity came from Lagos. So he's very popular in Osun. And how his supporter moved from APC to PDP. And how even those his big whip who did not move openly work for PDP. So, I mean, this is not in contention. It's all about interest, as they say. It's not about the politics of the political party, not per se. It is their interest. Okay, you want to spy me, you think because you are a sitting governor, you can do anything against me, I will teach you a lesson.
Do you think that he has a lot of time on his hand to be able to make this statement? Because if it's more like in the coming weeks, I'm going to make a statement. We are gradually closing in on the dates for general elections and even the dates to make some swap and some changes with regards to who takes what seat as of the moment. Do you think Wike has a lot of time on his hands, and do you think he's ready to hit the nail on the head as soon as possible?
No, he's not even hitting any lane, like I said. In my view, I don't think Wike will leave the PDP. He will not leave, because there are a lot of calculations, you know, that we put into considerations if he will leave or not leave. But I see a Nyesom Wike, if not quickly addressed. When I say quickly addressed, the problem at hand not quickly addressed. I see a Nyesom Wike working for another party.
While he's still in the People's Democratic Party.
Yes, I see that happening.
And the Constitution doesn't have anything against that.
No. He will not come out to say I'm working for this party. Okay. All he needs to do is just to direct the machineries within his arsenal and say, okay.
Of course, I think we also had an information that he said, look, that he's going to tell the people of Rivers State who to actually vote for.
Yes, he said that. That was a public statement. He said that. It's not today. It doesn't happen. That. If Wike does that, this is not the first time. As far back as 1983 in my state, in Kwara, hey, the father of Saraki that everybody now know, the late Olusola Saraki, did that to Adamu Ata, who was a sitting governor at the time. Late Oloye, as we popularly call him, was an instrumental to the coming of Adamu Ata as governor. But the politics of second time puts two of them apart. While Adamu Ata was, Saraki was in NPN with Adamu Ata, the UPN was largely on the part of our CEO Adebayo. So, but Saraki did not leave NPN. He was still in NPN, even as a majority leader of the Senate at the time. And few days to the election, he told his supporter to go and vote for CEO Adebayo, who is of the UPN of Awolowo at the time. And you know how politics of that time, if you are a political party stalwart, you are even more stronger and popular than a sitting governor or a president. Because politics, they say, is with ideology at the time. So it is not new. As recent as even 2003, it happens too. So if Wike is doing that, it's not going to be the first person and it's not going to be the last person. But my feeling, because we actually need an election that is extremely competitive, that will enable and allow the best person to emerge eventually.
But we currently have the handwriting of a highly competitive election.
Okay, so yeah,
we
just have to put a pause on this now.
Okay.
I think people's view is ready to go. Of course, people's view will be reviewing the papers this morning, and they are reaching us from the streets of Uyo. So humble, if you're ready, good morning, and thank you for being a part of the show this morning. And of course, to all the people that you'll be talking to this morning, good morning, and welcome to Rise and Shine. Let's have your view as it happens there on the streets of Rio.
All right, good morning, Wike and Janice. You're still watching Rise and Shine on Spectrum Television, and we move quickly to People's View, where we bring to you the opinions and the voices of people, reactions to the various headlines that we have on our national dailies and other local tabloids. So we start from the Punch newspaper, where we have the headline that says, Wike sues Atiku, Tambuwa, and demands recognition as candidate. And we take the reaction from a respondent.
Hello. Good morning. My own reaction based on what is written on the newspaper this morning, although I'm not a politician, but I'm a social being. I believe that every human being must have been involved in politics in one way or the other, as far as you're a human being. So my own reaction for Wike to sue Tiku and others, well, I believe that is more civil than for him to go in anarchy, maybe by blackmailing or do any other kind of thing that will bring about criminality. Because I believe that the court is the apex to deliver justice or judgment for whoever that seeks that he is being deprived of his own right, especially fundamental human rights. So as Wike has moved this matter to court, I believe the court will do justice to it based on his, whatever he sees that, yes, he must have been deprived being a party member of the PDP. So I believe that is the best way than for us, for him to go in another way that will not be more civil than what is being.
All right, for him to have taken this matter or to sue Tambuwa and Wike, was it in any way, or was he in any way being deprived of being the PDP flag bearer as far as presidential elections is concerned in PDP?
On the party, they have their own ethics or way of doing things. He must have seen one reason or the other. That maybe he assumed that he must have been deprived of one thing or the other.
So don't you think this matter could be addressed within the party? Don't you think so? Apart from the court?
Well, based on an individual, because he must assume that if he wants that matter to be addressed in the party, there must have been maybe some loopholes, or they can play pranks. Let him just go to the court. As far as the court is always for any forms of establishment, political or any form of matter that court could address, if it could be addressed based on what he wants, I believe it is the best.
All right. Still on that same matter, Wike sues Atiku and Tambuwa. What's your take on that particular issue?
Good morning. My take on that matter is that Wike going to court for me is not wrong, but for him to keep the party image like, you need to use some easy ways to make the movement, because you don't just need making news from different news airlines, different day. Wike does this, Wike. Personal interest, because it's not for everybody, it's personal interest. The party have already chosen their candidate, and I don't see you going back to cause some issues.
All right. Now that takes us to another headline from Sporting Live, and this is purely sports. Blues fans beg Osimhen, please come to Chelsea. Do you have anything to react to that? What's your take? Chelsea sign Osimhen.
I am a Chelsea fan. I'm proud of hearing the news, because in football world, one of the best in the world. And if a club Chelsea, as I am a Chelsea fan, I think I'm very happy for that. I'm happy for the year.
Looking at what he has achieved in Napoli and is coming to Chelsea, or is likely to come to Chelsea, do you think the Premier League will give him the space to achieve that same feat?
Why? We'll give him more space because he has the people who can be able to challenge him. I think he's the best striker, one of the best strikers in the world. So I think anyway he gets to, will do the best.
Like, how many goals do you think he can score for the season? Looking at other contenders, we have people that have won the Golden Boot in the Premier League.
Yeah. If we say contender goals, we have. If you come to England, Osimhen is a black man. He's very strong. He's skillful. He's speed up. I think we'll be able to have 30 goals end of the season.
Thank you so much for being on People's View. We took a little step away from politics and we went to sport. But that takes us to the end of People's View today. Remember, these are just the voices and the opinions of people, and they do not represent the standpoint or the viewpoint of Spectrum Television. Keep on keeping on with Rise and Shine. I remain humble, Udomiya, for Spectrum Television.
Of course, thank you so much, Humble, there for People's View. And the issue still lies on the Wike issue. Everybody seems to be talking about it. And even the people on the streets of Rio are also lending their voices to what's happening in the People's Democratic Party. Anyway, before we went to Humble on the streets of Rio, we were also having the same line of conversation. And we still have a guest in the house, a journalist and a political affairs analyst, Rashid Olariwaju. Thank you for still being there, sir. But as we wrap up on this week's conversation now and then look into some other things as it concerns the political space in Nigeria, I know that the person of Daily Momodu recently sent, like on social media, I think so, wrote a letter to Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. And I can't go into details of that letter, but more like he's saying that you're doing too much. We know that, you know, the people of Rivers State has been good to you in terms of all the projects you've been doing for them. We know that more like Nigeria has been good to you as well, but there's a point where you have to draw the lines. What's your take on that? Do you think that Governor Nyesom Wike is doing too much right now in terms of, you know, trying to like put out his agitations forward?
Well, you know, if you are speaking from the point of someone who is aggrieved, then you will feel the same way Governor Wike is feeling. But if you are speaking from the perspective of a party man who puts the interest of the party first, then you will go with Daily Momodu. Daily Momodu was an aspirant, don't forget. He wanted to become a president himself, and along the line, he has to stop them. Big boss. The PDP. If PDP is seriously interested in winning this presidential election, I think they need to cut Wike. They need to do that very, very fast.
Did you say they need to cut
Wike, Governor Wike, as in talk to him? That is what I mean.
Okay.
They need to talk to him. Look out for everybody that can talk to him. I've not seen the PDP bringing in former President Jonathan into talking terms with Governor Wike. I've not seen that.
And you think that's something that could help?
Oh yes, I've not seen the PDP, you know, bringing in Peter Odili.
Yeah.
You know, in talking to Wike. I've not seen PDP, you know, bringing a referred person like Abiy Sekivo and, you know, those henchmen in Rivers that Wike respects so well. In talking terms with Wike.
So do you think that the PDP is also playing light on the weight of issue that they have on hand, you know, with, you know, Governor Nyesom Wike's aggrieved?
I think so. I think, you know, it's in fact, there are two parts, or many parts, if I should say. You know, what happened in 2019, in my view, is still paining some loyalist of Atiku. So it is like a way of, getting rid of this guy. I mean, his son is too much. We were owners of this party before he became the governor. This party gave him the platform to even become the governor. You understand? Because don't forget that Governor Wike brought the National Convention to Rivers in 2019 against the wishes and the interests of the likes of Atiku and his followers. But he stood his ground because at the time he was like a sole administrator of the party. Atiku was just coming in fresh back. So, in my view, that has still been playing before all this now. But Wike is a smart guy too. He knows that he's now a beautiful bride. I mean, everybody is now cutting him. You see APC team on this side, you see Obi on this side, you see others on this side, and you see some PDP too, are loyal to him and say, but whatever he's doing, I know he's not doing it alone. He has his followers.
Anyways, I think we just have to put a pause there on the conversation around Wike. We hope that PDP gets to, resolve whatever squabbles they are going through right now and put their house in order. Let's look at another angle, because this has also been causing a lot of social media rave, in recent times. And that's the Labour Party now, and the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. For some people, they think that, look, Peter Obi cannot be the president of Nigeria in 2023, while other people actually think differently and say, look, with all that is happening right now and the whole consciousness of a lot of people as to what is happening in the country in terms of insecurity, in terms of high cost of living, and even the prolonged strike of ASU, we need a change. And recently, we have also seen that 15 political parties have actually collapsed their structure to support Peter Obi. Let's get your thought about Peter Obi, the man Peter Obi. Does he even have what it takes to lead this country, Nigeria? And with what is happening in PDP and APC, is it going to form a soft landing for Peter Obi?
Thank you very much. If I'm talking about Peter Obi on this platform or any platform, I will be talking from the position of, because I've worked with him before. And when you are talking of capacity to deliver, if you are talking of readiness to lead, if you are talking of, a chief executive who sticks to due process and always wants due diligence in anything he does, that is the man, Peter Obi. I mean, if you are looking for a president of Nigeria who will want to tilt towards what is happening in the developed country, in a way, then we have the likes of Peter Obi. If you want a desired change in this country, if you want a Nigerian that when you see your president speaking on a global platform, you will be proud as a citizen of Nigeria, wherever you are in the world, that this is my president. That is Peter Obi for you. Why am I saying this? He has age on his side, extremely fit, and I mean economically sound. Extremely brilliant. But politically, in terms of the structure of Nigeria, that's my fear. If the youth of Nigeria who desired a change, who wanted a young person to be the president of the country, we have their way, I think Peter Obi would have been the next president in waiting. But how will it happen in Nigeria?
Do you think the 15-party collapsing the structure will help?
The party we are even talking about are ex-political parties. They are former. Those are the parties that have been, removed or deregistered by INEC. Not even an S16 party. That is on one side. On the other side is that even if they are a 16 party, where are their structures? You see, if you want to win an election, your station is here in Uyo. in Akwa Ibom State, people can locate the station, right? They know where to find the station. If you go online, you check it. Terrestrial is available, right?
Yes.
Those are the structures. They are asking who are the people working in Spectrum. They say we are. I say Janice. Who is the chairman? Anti. Who is this? They mention, right? Those are the structure. So let's start from even the Labour Party itself. Labour Party does not have even a single governor, even a single House of Assembly member in Nigeria. A sitting House of Assembly member in Nigeria. It does not have. That is one. Two is that the northern-southern divide political consciousness we have in this country might not favor Obi in 2023. If this consciousness continue, maybe in 2027 it will work. I'm just being realistic. I mean, I would have, like I told you before, I would have loved, you know, Peter Obi for what he's standing for. Nobody can accuse that man of anything, you know, negative in this country. Unlike, I mean, the remaining major contenders. So, but the Nigerian political space, as it is today, in my view, might not favor Obi. And that is the raw truth. Nothing but the raw truth.
Okay, so because we are really ahead of time, this is something that I'd like you to answer in like one breath. There's currently a lot of sanctions and call out from people like a lot of people about how the obedience are going about their online campaigns, the way they're calling out other political parties, other candidates, and there's a call for Peter Obi to call his house to order. Do you think that that is a problem that needs to be addressed one way or the other? And do you think that obedience are being too forward in the way they are going about seeking the change they desire?
No, you've seen the smart response even from Obi Media advisor. You know, he dissociated himself completely from those campaigns, and he agreed completely with the Tinubu campaign organization on what he said, that his campaign should be on issues. That was a very smart one, because anything outside that would have been a somersault. Let me tell you, this is the era of politics. An opposition party or your opposition will be doing something as if you are the one doing it. So the smarter you are, the better for you. And I think Obi and his campaign team are very smart in responding to that, align with issue-based campaign.
Wow.
So I think it's a good thing for them.
Oh, that's the much we can actually take on this conversation this morning. And we've been interviewing Rashid Olariwaju, who's a journalist and political analyst. Great conversation this morning, in-depth analysis of a lot of things happening on Governor Nyesom Wike's part, the wranglings in the People's Democratic Party, and of course, an overview of what the fate of Labour Party and its flag bearer, Peter Obi, looks like. But at this point, that's the much we can take on Rise and Shine this morning, and we do hope that we gave you value for your time. We will just take our quote of the day, and when we return, that's how we'll wrap it up this morning.
Okay, yeah, there's no quote of the day. We're sorry, we can't take quote of the day. This is where we have to wrap things up. We'll see you again. I'll see you again next week for another very interesting edition of Rise and Shine. Of course, your early morning starters. Okay, so that's quote of the day. A champion is defined not by their wins, but by how they can recover when they fall, Serena Williams. So as you begin your weekend, this is more like wherever you fall from, just try to pick up yourself. Be more like a tennis ball where you bounce up again and keep going. Okay, so it's bye-bye from all of us, and see you again next week, Monday.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. We appreciate your time. I remain Uyaya Nekan, and we'll definitely see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.